Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Brian from Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the community. This is a discussion-based channel where we talk about video games, movies, technology, displays, PC, anything you can think of. And the topic today is buying an aftermarket display. And the ones you saw on the title of this video were the Z9D, the Q9FN, the 77-inch OLEDs. And the reason why I bring those up is they are very coveted displays and they're flagships. And the reason why they're being sought after is due to the climate of what you see happening in display technology. Now, there's many reasons a lot of you are looking at these options, and we're going to talk about those in this video. I also try to respond to every comment that I possibly can. I just finished responding to the last video, which was on 8K, and I really appreciate all of the comments and all of your questions. Some of you are actually apologizing for disagreeing with me. Please don't. I don't want you all to agree with me. I want you guys to put your personal opinion in the most positive and civilized way you can. Please be civilized to one another, and I will get back to you. If for some reason I missed your comment, or if you commented on someone else's comment and I didn't see it, please resubmit it, and I will definitely get back to you guys. And thank you for being patient, as it does take me a few days to get back to you. So, aftermarket displays, and why I think a lot of you are looking at these now. The current climate, or the current trend in displays, is moving towards 8K, and for a lot of the top brands, being Samsung and Sony, chief among them, they're looking at wider viewing angles. They're looking at things that are more aesthetically pleasing, kind of to the majority versus the enthusiasts, which a lot of us on the channel are in that enthusiast bracket. We're more interested in contrast, picture quality, dimming zones, and it's making a good amount of you look back towards displays of the past. More so flagship displays that were very highly coveted at the time, that maybe were just out of your reach financially, that have now come down in price. And we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of thinking this way, and where I fall in this part, and if I recommend it or not. So the displays that come to mind being the Sony Z9D, 75-inch, 65-inch, the last generation Q9FN, Q8FN, anything OLED that's in the 77-inch class or even below. But I bring up the 77-inch class simply because of how expensive they were and how untouchable they were for the longest period of time. Going back to what we said about the technology shifting, some of you are really turned off by it. I am as well. There's nothing wrong with these new displays. Probably to the naked eye, they're still excellent. They're just not what you guys had in mind. It's not what I had in mind. And they're really kind of addressing what's not important to me. What's important to me, and more paramount more than anything, is picture quality and functionality. Smart features, it doesn't matter to me. Every device I have here has some kind of smart aspect to it that does it better than the display half the time. So I understand why you guys want to do this. I understand also the temptation of having a budget. We all have a certain budget of what we can afford. And just out of that budget, it could be a few $100s, it can be a few $1,000s, especially with tax, warranties, delivery. Sometimes what looks like it's so close is just unreachable for many of us. For a lot of you, that was the Sony Z9D, or a few years ago, the Q9FN from last year. But anything flagship, let's just say that, anything that you thought, if I just had that, I'd be all set. So once in a while, a lot of you guys will look up the price of a 75-inch Z9D, which retailed for about $9,000, or 77-inch OLED, which retailed for about $15,000. Q9FN, I think, was 6 or 7 upon launch. Some of you are looking back. For me, looking back from the manufacturer or from a retailer is fine, as long as the... Hold on one second. Sorry about that, my kid was talking. What I was saying is that from those retailers, if you have a display that is part of their dwindling inventory, the Q8FN, the Q9FN, Sony Z9D really isn't available upon retailers. You're buying those brand new, that's fine. My main concern for you guys is warranty. Make sure the warranty is intact. Not only do you get the 15 days from the retailer, now also if you're going to go to these retailers If you open up not a credit card with them, but their memberships or whatever, it might give you an extra 15 days. If you've shopped at Best Buy in the past, it'll give you that elite status where it goes from 15 days to 40 days. My point is, you want to make sure you're covered from every angle you possibly can. Do not, now when I say do not, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you my recommendation. Do not take anything in terms of TVs at face value. What I mean by that is an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Blu-ray player. Either they play the content or they don't. If an Xbox One X plays a video game, it plays it. There's no degradation of picture or changing of picture quality. It either turns on and plays or it doesn't. TVs are the exact opposite. Yes, they display content, but there's so many different variables that make that display show that image. And they can be defective in 1,000 different ways, and 5 or 6 namely or obvious ways that we can all point out, and we have with the panel lottery. So my apprehension of buying a used display, right now we're talking about a leftover inventory. Those are safe. Open box, we're going to cover that a little bit later. Craigslist and eBay. Almost every day I get a comment saying, hey Brian, I have a Z9D, I see it for sale, 2016, $2,000, 75 inches, what do you think? My apprehension is basically because I have no idea how that's been used. I have no idea if it was defective from jump. I don't know if that person missed their window and got stuck with it. Now I know I'm thinking doom and gloom here, but my point is to try and protect you guys. I would love to say in the comments, go get it. Go get it. But after this video, do me a favor, look up your favorite flagship and see how low you can find it. See on eBay what they go for. See what you can find on Craigslist, and you'll be blown away by how cheap they are or how cheap they can be. Now, we're not talking about outright scams here. That should be, in a way, common sense if something is too cheap. What I'm talking about is even the seller not being aware of the defect. Now, we talk about this, I want to just say that even in regards to the manufacturer or regards to the retailer, what they perceive as a defect is not what you and I perceive as a defect, okay? It powers on, it works, plays the content for you, they think that's fine. Bringing back my displays to Best Buy, dead pixels, brand new displays in the $7,000 range. Dead pixels, terrible banding, screen uniformity, dirty screen effect, flash lighting, edge lit bleed. These aren't, hey, I don't like the image. These aren't inherent flaws. These are defects. I was told with pictures and videos in hand that was acceptable. Now, why do I bring that up with a retailer? Do you honestly think a personal seller is going to tell you, yeah, I totally know what you mean? Personal sellers are going to tell you that it looks fine, body-wise, structure-wise, it's intact, and it plays content. If you tell this person that it has vertical banding, they're going to blink at you and say, what the hell are you talking about? Now, if there's a line going down the screen, I'm sure they would agree, oh, wow, there shouldn't be blue lines down the screen. But vertical banding, screen uniformity, a few dead pixels on a 75-inch TV, they're going to tell you to go to hell. And they may win that battle because with the guidelines, it falls in, it operates. That you didn't, when you bought it, maybe you didn't check it out. Or do you get where I'm going with this? Like, they're not going to be as enthusiast based as we are. They're going to tell you, hey, look, I've had this thing for 2 or 3 years. It operates as new. A lot of us talk in the channel that most of the defects that are on these panels are only visual to very few of us. The majority of people that I've seen with their displays have defective panels in one way, shape, or form. The 77-inch OLED that you guys have seen, I'm sorry, the 85-inch LED that you guys saw me do in Philadelphia, the flash lighting in that display was so bad it was unwatchable. People watch that display every single day, and they love it. They have no idea why they're distracted by line piercing the black bars into the middle of the screen. Find that on my channel, guys, and you tell me what you think. My point is, if people from that place are selling that TV to you, they're going to say, it's fine. It works perfect. So that's one thing. The change in opinion or the difference in opinion on what the defect is. When you bring your videos and pictures to your retailer and they're telling you, the salesmen tell you, yeah, man, that's just how these things are. How do you think a private seller is going to be? Or better yet, a third-party seller on Amazon. Now, I've been using Prime for years, and it really does depend on the more money you spend. You get this elite status. You can also get over $2,000, a concierge kind of treatment where they really take care of you over a certain price point. That goes away if you're going third-party. If it's not covered by Prime, or if it doesn't have Prime's A to Z, meaning it's not directly from Amazon, but they cover someone else's, you're on your own, completely on your own, which means that they'll ship the TV to you, you'll take it out of the box, you'll turn it on. If there's a problem, they will not release the funds until that display goes back to them. Okay, so it took a week or two to get it, you send it back to wherever it's from, they unbox it, they turn it on, they see that in their mind it looks fine. Now, the majority of us, there's 3,000 whatever subs to this channel now, if we sat in a room, the majority of us would agree that this panel doesn't look good, there's defects. The rest of the world does not feel that way. They would say, look, it powers on, I don't know what the problem is, and I can prove it. This is how I can prove it. 5 of my displays that I brought back to Best Buy, my P-Series and my KS9000, were all back at Best Buy as open box, and they were displayed. It was actually comical. They were all lined up. And it was before I started the channel. I wish I took a video of them. They were all mine. How I knew they were mine is I had all of those part numbers as I called on all of them. So I went into my phone, I lined them all up, I knew which ones they were. Each one of them had a broken local dimming line in the KS9000, meaning the local dimming wasn't working. It was bobbing up and down. Dead pixels on 3 of them. Green line defect on another one that was in the black bars. There was nothing in the literature or the specs that indicated that there was an issue. So I asked the salesman, who I didn't know at that time, I found one that I didn't know, a couple I didn't know, I should say, and asked them what the deal was with these displays. And it was the same thing they say to everybody that asks about open box. Somebody bought it brand new. It looks brand new. They dropped it off. They didn't like it. This is why we reduced it. Those displays, their defects were still there. Those dead pixels are still there. You can't see it on the showroom. You really can't see it unless you're in a dark room, especially in full screen demos. Even burn-in is barely visible on full screen demos. It's not until you get it home, you put it in a dark room, that you see the issue is there. Why I said that I had proven it is that to them, I'm sure they're not being malicious. They took it, they opened it up, they honored my return, but I promise you they powered it on and they went, it looks fine. He's too picky. Now, am I picky? I mean, I have a channel, I'm an enthusiast in a way. Actually, not one of those displays that I returned was because I didn't like it. There wasn't one that I said, I can't live with this. Even my first Vizio P series that I didn't love, I was going to keep. I was not going to take it back. I did my research. I can't bring back a video game I don't like that's open. I would have honored that. Every one of them had terrible defects. I mean, awful defects. Not just the Vizio, all of them. So my point is, I don't think they were trying to deceive anyone. I think they just looked at them, thought I was out of my mind, and plugged them in and ran them. Because here's another way to prove it. If they really thought that they were defective, they sure as hell wouldn't have turned them on and left them showing content. They would have put them back in the box, and because you know where those boxes are, they would have left them there. They didn't. They left them on. So I think they were confident that I was being too picky, and they sold them as always. I had written out what the problems were. The seller would never know. The majority of the people that bought those probably wouldn't know. That's the biggest reason why I don't recommend buying open box. A lot of you guys have had great experiences with open box. Please, in the comments, if you've had a great experience with an open box or Craigslist or any of the sites, I want you to scream it proudly. Tell me the instance. Tell me where you bought it. Tell me what warranties you had. That's what I want to hear. And the reason why I want to hear that is those of you that see the video, not only do you hear what I say, then you can go down into those comments and see what their experiences are. It's a very helpful community that really does answer each other back. And they will tell you, yeah, I got an OLED from whatever. It was great. No problems. So that's what I mean about our, our thoughts or our definition of defects. The majority of people out there think it powers on, it plays content, it looks pretty good, take it. Back to the flagships. This is where it gets tricky. These are TVs that the majority of us can't afford. And I went through this with the KS9800. You guys have heard me talk about this on the channel before. This TV was 78 inches. You guys can look it up. Curved. It was beautiful. This display was elegant. Many, many zones, super peak brightness. It's the best picture I've ever seen personally when it was great. It had a blue line defect, meaning that in some games, just randomly, lightning would just shoot down the screen in different places. Samsung couldn't figure it out. I had 3 of them, I think. But there was this brief moment. Now, this display, just to give you the price, $12,000 is what it retailed for. I got it for $10,000 because it was towards the end of the year. And then when I returned one, I purchased another one and it was $9,000. So now still $9,000. There were moments where I was sitting there, the picture quality was so good that when that lightning thing would happen, not only would it shake me to my soul, I did say to myself, yeah, but it's a $9,000 TV. So if I said to you guys, hey, I have a Z9D, 75 inches, the thing is beautiful, it's got 4 or 5 dead pixels, you barely notice it, you guys might jump at that. You might say, yeah, you know what, I can take that, I can deal with that. And that's really up to you guys. But for me, that doesn't make much sense now, because now a flagship costs $7,000. I was willing to keep one for $9,000 that had this issue that totally broke my experience. If you go to the bottom or the beginning of my channel a few years ago, the first 3 or 4 videos are that KS9800. It looks amazing. That blue lightning, I mean, I hated it, but there was that moment of maybe I'll keep it. It's still the Lamborghini of TVs, maybe I'll keep it. And I really don't want you guys to settle for that, because in a few years, when you've already spent that money, it's going to bother you. That's just an example of how our thought process can go. But now that you guys are looking back and seeing Z9Ds for $2,000, $3,000, you're seeing these highly coveted displays and they're within your reach. I want you just to be so mindful that these displays are so fickle. They're basically huge computers, a million things wrong with them. When they're perfect, it's rare. It rarely happens. To buy a used one from a personal seller or eBay or any of these sites, and I'm saying this from genuine people, not even people that are trying to scam you. That's a whole nother video. I just cannot recommend it. I can't recommend you guys take that chance. If you do, from a retailer, please make sure that the warranties are intact. The manufacturing warranties are intact. If you buy from these other sites, there's a million of them, please check in their listings that they're an authorized dealer. What that means is that they are authorized to sell you Samsung, Sony, and LG. Why is that important? If you buy a display from someone that isn't, the manufacturer will not recognize that display and they will not fix it. They will not honor that warranty. They'll just tell you no. They don't know if you bought it off of the back of a truck. If it's stolen, they'll actually be very turned off to it and they will just totally ignore the situation. And guys, there is no electronic stores that really fix these things nowadays. It's not like back in the day with a Maytag, some other guy could, I mean, they're gigantic, there's a lot to them. It's very hard to get them repaired. And if you do, they'll probably cost more than the display itself. So being stuck with a huge anchor is what can happen to so many of you. So please don't take that chance. If you do take that chance from even these companies, eBay and Craigslist, see what the return policy is. I just don't recommend an item this large, this fickle, that needs to be shipped, where the seller is going to really honor that return. If it's a Blu-ray player and it's got a couple scratches on it and it plays content, awesome. If it has to be sent back, send it back. It takes nothing to ship it at UPS. If you get beat for the money, you get beat for the money. It happens. We're talking about thousands. Now that thousands doesn't sound like a lot when the TV retailed for $9,000. It's still a lot of money. It's still a lot of money to get beat for as well. So just be super careful. Some of you guys are so good with Craigslist, you can manage that. Now, if you are going to do that, whether it's a Facebook market or a Craigslist. I think I've covered the majority of these. First of all, Amazon, make sure it's Prime or A to Z if you're going with a third-party seller. Just think of how arduous it's going to be to ship and then pick up, and how long your money may be in limbo. You also may lose your money because Amazon doesn't just keep your money like that. eBay, the other ones, yeah, your money is kind of like in this little escrow thing, PayPal, until it takes place. It's harder to get that money back when it's in the thousands. When it's $100, they'll give it back to you. So with Craigslist or Facebook Market, if you can go to the person's location or their house, what I suggest you do is go there, have a couple different things you want to do, whether it's Pixel thing on YouTube, have them log into their wireless and run some tests right there. Have them turn off the lights, run a few full screen movies, and then use your eye and sit there in a dark room. That's the only way I recommend it, is to let them in that environment, turn the lights off, put on some content. That's the only thing I recommend as far as trusting that. That's the only way I could say go for that. Same with Facebook. If they let you spend 10 minutes, they want to sell it for a few thousand, let you spend 10 minutes, then I suggest that's the way to go for it. As far as Best Buy, do the same thing with an open box. Have them literally take it out of the box, hook up to their Wi-Fi, and have them run demos for you. Not demos from movies, but demos from YouTube as far as the burn-in, pixels, things like that. Have them run those. So just be very, very careful out there, guys. I know the flagships are so tempting, especially the old classics. Just be very, very careful. I don't recommend buying them secondhand or buying them used. They're such fickle and intricate electronics that just are hard to mess with. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you as always. I will talk to you soon. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Take care.